Nathan Thompson here with Pro Video Coalition, and I'm here with Chuck Westfall from Canon, and we're going to take a look here at the C300 Mark II. How are you doing today, Chuck?
Absolutely great. We're very happy to be here at the show, and this is one of the best cameras that we've ever introduced. It is the best camera in the Cinema EOS line right now. So this is a fantastic new piece to talk about.
And I fear that there will be too many updates to fully cover in this interview, but let's talk about some of the main updates that we're seeing here at this show.
All right, well, the C300, when it came out in 2012, was basically designed to give the best quality HD image. And what we've done is we've listened to the feedback from our users and found different ways with the new technology to be able to raise the HD image quality on this camera significantly even more than the C300. In addition to the HD, it's also capable of recording 4K internally or exporting 4K RAW externally. But talking about the HD, which I think is one of the main features on this camera, instead of 50 megabits MPEG-2 and 422 color sampling, we're now able on the 2K and HD to go all the way up to 12-bit 444 at a bit rate as high as 410 megabits per second. So it's really a huge step forward in terms of the quality. And also we want to mention that we've upgraded not only the image sensor, but the image processors on this camera. We have an 8.85 megapixel new Super 35 CMOS. We also have dual digit DV5s. And really what that does for us is to give us a 15-stop dynamic range. And that's going to be fantastic for people who want to be able to get the most amount of tonal gradation, especially when they're trying to shoot in a contrasty light, and be able to pull those highlights and all those the shadows out of the same shot.
Okay. And how is all this media recorded? Where does it go? And what are some of the recording options there, especially in the back of the camera?
Yeah, for the internal recording, we actually have 3 card slots. So there are 2 CFast card slots, and the CFast is now the next step higher than the compact flash that people have been using up to this point. They support a much higher data rate, so they're really appropriate for both the 4K and the high bit rate on the 2K. Also, we have an SD card slot that will allow you to do an HD proxy file recording. And we also have the HD, actually dual 3G SDI ports. So if you want to come out and do external recording, you can do that way, or even through HDMI.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about the ergonomics. So this body is a little bigger, just a little bit heavier in a few areas, but there's also a lot of improvements that we can look at.
Oh, absolutely. In terms of the overall design here, what we've been able to do is to rationalize the button layout and add a few new controls that we didn't have before. You're going to notice now that the start-stop, for example, is moved away from the front of the camera and over to the side. We also have illuminated buttons that'll work when you're in a dark situation to be able to show you what you're doing a little bit more clearly. I think that some of the improvement here is actually not directly visible from the outside. So, for example, built-in Wi-Fi capability that allows you to do not only exporting of your files, but also to do browser remote control through smartphone, tablet, or laptop, for example. So the LCD monitor has been upgraded to an OLED monitor, which is not only brighter, but also sharper at 1,770,000 dots. And the eye-level viewfinder is upgraded as well. 4-channel audio on here, which allows you to have a lot more control over how you mix your audio. Plus, it's now up to 24-bit rather than 16-bit, so you're really getting a higher resolution on the audio itself. The new connection that you're seeing in this particular camera, this is actually a custom setup that we have here, but the point is that it's far more robust than it was. There are 3 hex screws now that anchor your different attachments in, and makes it much more, professional level and quality in terms of being able to attach different accessories on top. So, in addition to all that kind of setup that you see here, one of the things that is a possibility with this camera that didn't exist before is to actually still have XLR with an optional accessory that we sell without having the LCD or the OLED monitor. So that will keep the size of the camera down and make it easier to operate in situations where you don't need the external viewer.
And so this camera has a claimed 15 stops of dynamic range. And how are we getting that? You said there's a new codec in this camera, and is there also a new log mode as well?
Absolutely. We've got a new sensor and new processor, and then the codec is now the XF AVC instead of the XF. And so what we've done with that is basically to change it from an MPEG-2 to an MPEG-4, which helps us to really sustain that higher data rate that you need for 4K, and also to get your better color subsampling in the 2K and HD. So that is really part of the story here. And in addition, the fact of the new sensor and the new processor is really the bottom line when it comes to actually getting the dynamic range improved.
And so we've got 30p at 4K. Do we have any high-speed options at 2K or HD?
Yeah, we're all the way up to 120 frames per second now in both 2K and HD, and that's going to be a huge advantage for people who want to be able to shoot slow motion and be able to then play it back at a slower rate during their playback.
And so what are some of our lens mount options, and do we have any variability there as far as changing it out or anything like that?
Yeah, we've taken a whole different approach now to the lens mount. The standard kit that is going to be available on this is either going to be EF or PL, just like it was, but you're not permanently committed to that. So what happens is that the whole front plate can be removed by the service department, and there are two options, actually a total of three options. You have the standard EF mount, you have the locking EF mount, which people who've used the C300 may be familiar with, and that's actually preferable when you're working in a rig, and we also have the PL mount. So basically, you can choose the mount that makes the most sense for your workflow.
And this isn't something necessarily that the end user would want to be tinkering around with or removing. This is something that they ship off and let the pros do it.
Exactly right. It was not intended for user operation to switch out the mount, but very definitely for the service department to be able to handle that.
Okay. So there's a lot of improvements that we've looked at here. What's the price point that we're looking at here?
Okay, good question. We're looking at a $20,000 retail, and we're looking at a September shipment. So there's a little bit of time between now and then, of course, but we hope that people will understand that that's also a good opportunity for us to get up to speed with all the NLE providers, so that when this camera does hit, that it will be fully supported.
So I've heard some people be a little bit dismayed with the price point. So what do you have to say to them as far as the class of camera that this is? Where are you intending to position this camera? What kind of grade is this camera in?
Well, at the end of the day, a camera like this really has to be judged on what it delivers. And the image quality on this camera is, I would say, very, very comparable to what you're seeing out of much more expensive pieces from companies like Ari with the Alexa, which we understand, of course, is a very, very high quality camera and is used in quite a lot of video productions. So when you look at the price point of the C300 Mark II compared to a camera like that, you're actually getting a tremendous amount of features for a very, very bargain price.
Very good. I think that's all the questions we've got today. We very much appreciate your time. So that's a look at the Canon C300 Mark II, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.